Good afternoon, evening-ish. Look what I have outside with me. I've been out here gardening all afternoon. It's like a spring day. It's amazing. Mr. Beasley's trying to keep his eyes open over there. I brought out his little tuffet and have him tethered to the pergola there, and he's happy as a clam, keeping me company while I'm going through my garden cleanup. I'm finding hundreds of sprouting bulbs. It's going to be so exciting in the spring, and my cherry tree is full of buds, and my peonies are shooting up, so very exciting. And it's looking beautiful getting it all cleaned up and getting black mulch. Guys, it makes everything pop. I'm a big fan of black mulch. Oh my God, this dog. I wish you could see. He's like doing like I did in college after lunch, trying to stay away. The head's dropping and then so cute. So, gardening always gets me thinking and gets me happy. Highly recommend. So, couple of topics. As I said, I'm not going to make this channel dominant on the subject of smear campaigns, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it on the front end here. Then I'm going to talk about something regarding estate management, managing an estate of someone who's passed on, because I've learned a lot. And I went from knowing zero to now knowing a lot of being in that role. And there's just some really practical couple tips I want to pass along to you guys to just put in your thinking cap store for later. You might have somebody else that needs this information to save yourself a lot of mental gymnastics and grief, from learning things that I've sort of stumbled into. Golden hour's coming here. It's beautiful. So yeah, I have a video on here that has gotten, like 10 times the activity as any other one, and it's on how to respond to a smear campaign. And I get it, because I also did a lot of searching on that topic at one point, and so it's valuable information out there. There are many channels that are talking about, like the Whys and Wherefores, Dr. Romani. There's one called Narc Free. There's people that are doing coaching on it. I'll put some resources down in the description of this after I post this. I'm not going to get into all that because that's covered heavily out there. But when I talk about this, what I'm going to talk about is your own self-care, healing, surviving, and thriving. If you've been targeted in that way, and I think it's just a ever-growing phenomenon. Usually it's women, and usually it's women going after other women, from what I've noticed. So, FYI. But just a couple of things on that. It may be helpful to understand the whys and wherefores of it, but it's really more helpful to keep your attention on your own sanity, your own mental health, and your own self-care. And there's some things that help that, and there's the number one thing is don't engage with it at all. If you're curious, find other things to be curious about. You are living in these people's heads. They want to be living in your head. You have the control of who gets access to your thoughts. So, oftentimes when things are intrusive, it's helpful to have something else to change the channel to think about something else. So think about things that are nourishing to obsess over. Right now, I have several things that are take up space in my brain, some that I have installed there and some that I've just had to deal with, which is going to be the second part of this, is about this very intense process I've been in for a couple months around my dad's estate that just has demanded a lot of my attention, but it's also been kind of welcome in a way too, that I get up in the morning and I have to deal with and problem solve and stuff like that, and it's commanding attention. Puppy also commands a lot of attention, which is good. If you notice that somebody is obsessing over you, baby reindeer style, in a negative, harmful, destructive way, do not make their obsession over you your obsession. Did you get that? Do not make someone else's obsession over your obsession over their obsessing over you. Okay, so you have the choice to do that. And choose other things to occupy your thoughts. And there's a whole wide world of things. We are in the advent of gardening season right now. And gardening is such a positive, nourishing thing to put your attention in, because you're seeing these things grow. You're seeing this natural world evolve, just as your world is evolving. Even though people might be trying to drag you down into some pit of hell they're living in, you have to, if somebody's trying to put an anchor around your neck and pull you down there, you have to present your neck, right? So don't do that. Don't present your neck. Just turn, pivot. And gardening is a great way. There's something just so nourishing about watching like a seed sprout, or, the becoming of something. And so any creative project is going to be your friend. So yeah, don't let somebody who's obsessing over you in a negative way become your obsession over their obsessing. That's just like really kind of basic, but it's good to say it out loud. When it comes to venting, not that helpful. It isn't. If you need to talk about that topic to someone, a friend or family member or whatever, let it be because you actually have a purpose. Like you need another brain to help you solve a problem, a specific thing. What should I do about this or that? Do I need to get an attorney, for example, or, just something that is a very task-oriented thing, but just for the sake of like talking about it, that keeps it alive. I don't recommend it. What's helpful though is to connect with people in your life, friends, family members who know you with some longevity, that know you outside of this delusional portrait that's being painted about you. By the way, they typically, when you research this, they typically are very cookie cutters of each other, how they do these. Like these smear campaigns typically are going to accuse you of being an addict. They're going to accuse you of being a criminal. I'm just like, check. I mean, I don't know what I'm being accused of because I really haven't paid attention for months now, but, and they haven't been really intruding into my personal world. I hope this doesn't ignite that, but they haven't for a while. But you just ignore that if and when they do that. But, by now I might be, they might have escalated to that I'm like some sort of serial killer or something like that. I mean, who knows? They tend to like keep getting more embellished, more dramatic, more, they're getting off on this. They enjoy it. This is a pastime that they enjoy, but don't let it become your pastime or your hobby. There's way too many things in this world to do that are nourishing, that are helpful, that are life-giving, that have nothing to do with that stuff. So if you're going to talk to somebody, talk about other things. Talk about the things that you enjoy together, that bring you together, reminding yourself that you had a life before any of these people entered your life. You had a fulfilling, positive life that, it just makes all of this shrink down to like a mosquito, one mosquito, and you can swat a mosquito. So yeah, it's nourishing to talk to people about, even just reminiscing about the past, and people that just know you and connect with you, and that'll feel good to you, and it counteracts this negativity coming at you, usually from people who have no idea who you really are, and they're doing a lot of projecting onto you and a lot of pain transferring onto you, and don't make it yours. So there's that. So that's that for that topic for today. Snip that, move on to the next. The next is dealing with estates. And I'm not going to go into everything that I've dealt with, but it's 2025 and I'm still dealing with it from my dad from 2021. In a nutshell, when he died, I had to deal with at least 5, maybe 6 different states, as many banks, as many lawyers, as many different laws in different states of how to do things. And some states have reciprocity with other states, but it's been a learning curve. It's not anything I had any training in or anything like that. Finance, the law in this way, estate law, or anything like that. So I learned by being thrown into it, and I've learned some things. But just recently we sold a property in one state using a designation from another state. So some states will designate you, like me. My brother and I both inherited, but I'm handling everything because I'm a POA of everything, and the executor. Some states don't require, like the state I live in, for any kind of legal designation for me to do the things that I needed to do in this state. Another state, I needed to sell some property. I had to go through a whole process with a lawyer to be determined executrix, which involved judges, something be put in the newspaper, this whole process. That was done a couple years ago. They used that information in order to designate me in another state, a personal representative to manage a rental property in another state. So we did that at the same time. So there is some reciprocity between states. That's good for you to know. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel in another state. So they will do that. Not every state has reciprocity. So you just got to research this stuff on your own. So I was able to do that. Then we went about selling that rental property this year. About 4 days before the closing, I learned for the first time that those designations, executrix from the one state that we used for the other one, to be personal representative in the other one, so I didn't have to go through that whole process again, they expire. I didn't know that. I thought once you're assigned, once you're appointed, that's it. Oh no, it expires. So they're like, oh, that has to be within 60 days. And it's been 2 years. So we had to reinvent the wheel. But we didn't. And we were not going to get it all done now in 4 days. Because anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a very complex situation that ended up being simple. And this is my point that I want to impart upon you. My lawyer in the first state thought she was going to have to start all over from the beginning, which is, also thousands of dollars again to do the exact same thing we did 2 years ago. But I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning and thought, wait a minute. This is literally just updating a date on this document in order to allow me to sell this property in this other state. I'm going to get up in the morning, and the second that court office opened up in that first state, I called them and I said, can I talk to the person in charge of that division of doing that? Get this woman on the phone. I said, listen, I've done some research on this. I don't know that I need my lawyer to represent me in this. Can I just present to you this, this, and this in order to get this designation updated to today's date? She goes, oh yeah, I can do that for you. She's the notary. It literally was taking this paper and re-notarizing it. They call it recertifying it and giving it a new date. She said, all you need to do is write me a letter indicating why you need that and that there's been no changes to the estate, which there wasn't. The only change was that we were going to sell this other property. And send me a check for $10. Then they'll send it back to you. It's for like the mailing fees, for this $10. So I FedExed it to her overnight that day. And I said, are you sure I don't need a lawyer for this? She goes, nope, you don't need it. You just need this letter. And then she did it. She sent me a copy of it. I've emailed that copy to the title agent at the other company, at the other state. They looked at it and said, yep, this will work. So we're like, the clock is ticking, get down to getting this closing, because my realtor's like, yeah, these buyers might back out if we have to extend this closing after, it's like 3 days away. So I'm working. So that was the first time that I saw that, like, I didn't have to use a lawyer. Even my lawyer was sort of surprised that, like, she learned something new, that they would just recertify that document. And everybody was checking with their legal and everything like that, so it's on the up and up. So we were able to do this. As it turned out, a little just aside, I'm tracking this document, this FedEx document, like it's like 2 days before the closing, like that it's okay, it's there. Contact the title company. Okay, you have it. She's opening it while she's on the phone with me, and she's like, who is this Kimberly, whatever the last name was, Larson or whatever. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. She goes, I think she sent us the wrong document. She sent the wrong document. That lady did. It was off by 1 digit. She pulled the wrong document. We were down now to 1 day. In the meantime, I had sent her a bouquet of flowers as a thank you. And she called me and she's like, thank you. So why did you send me flowers? And I'm like, because you have no idea. You getting that done in a timely manner, and getting that out in FedEx on that day. It's like the difference between me being able to sell this property or not. So I'm acknowledging that with this thank you. So here I sent her the flowers and she screwed up. So I called her. I called her back. I'm like, Tracy. And she goes, you gotta be kidding. And I know she felt terrible because she had these flowers sitting on her desk. It was the same day the flowers arrived. But anyway, I'm like, don't worry about it. I kept my cool. My husband's in the room like, I can't believe how cool you were. And I'm like, I was in major, like, there's no room for like upset about anything. It's like, we got to problem solve this. Have them send you another thing. Can you send it out today? That has to go out today. And she goes, oh, it will go out today. And so, I'm like, mistakes happen. Don't even worry about it. Stuff happens. It was one digit off, as long as it gets there by tomorrow morning, which was the day of the closing. And it did. We closed. So then I'm presented with another opportunity for this same thing. This is called like when you think you need to hire an attorney, but you don't. This is one of the things I'm going to impart upon you, is that, like, just make sure that this is something you need an attorney for. Just check it out. And if I wasn't in such a crunch for this, I would have just gone with, okay, handle it, paid the attorney to handle it. But I was desperately in a crunch, and I didn't have time to have a middleman. I just can I do this myself? The other thing is, we sell the property. They cut me a check, but it's made out to the estate of my dad. So now I need a place to deposit this check. I don't have any bank accounts anymore for my dad because we closed those all. So I have to open up an estate account, and now I'm back into this, okay, am I going to have a problem opening an estate account based on my designation? All this stuff. So I start with that again. So again, I go back to the gods of Google, research it, what's involved in opening an estate account. I contact my lawyer here in my state. He's like, I think you're going to need me for that. I think we're going to have to do the whole thing again, where we have to go before a judge and you have to put an ad in the paper and all this kind of stuff to get designated a person that can even open a bank account. So he thinks we're going to have to do all that for the first time in my state. And gods of Google. What's involved in opening an estate account in the state of Pennsylvania? You need this, 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 and this. And I'm like, I have all that. I contact my attorney back and I said, Jim, I have everything. I think I'm going to be able to open this estate account with all this documentation. I'm cobbling it together from this state and that state. And, I've been through it. I'm the executrix here. I have current documentation on there. I'm personal representative there. I have a signed contract for this sales contract for this house. I have the check, I have the will, I have the death certificate, I have everything. I'm going to bring them more than what they need. So he's like, well, I'll be on standby if you need me. But, he was a little bit incredulous. So I walk into this bank, sure enough, they take everything that I had. My stack, they check with their legal. Is this, because people aren't used to having to deal with all these different states and all, all of this, but they did have a mechanism to do that. They opened the estate account. I can make the deposit. So my little word of wisdom to you, well, the first and foremost thing, I'm going to say it again. If your parents are still alive, you have any complexity there, you think, or even if it's a simple estate, just take a look at it. Have your lawyer take a look at it and see if there are any changes. There are a lot of things that could happen on the front end that could avoid a lot of this complexity. And in fact, we're meeting with our lawyer soon about reevaluating what we're doing for that reason. You can put your offspring's name on a property. Like if I had my name on that property, I could have just sold it. If it's, there's just different things that you can do that's going to streamline it. And especially when you're getting quite old and, time's ticking, it's just practical to do that. So, my dad was just sort of willy-nilly all over the place. And anyway, so some things my name was on, some things were in trust, some things were outright. It was a lot. So, yeah, on the front end, prevention is the best thing. But if you inherit this and you're wading through it, two things I'm going to tell you. I'm going to leave you with these two things. One is, first thing you're going to do when you start this get a lawyer that you like. I mean, we have had great legal representation. That specializes in this, and open an estate account. You're going to need it. It's called an estate account. They say oftentimes the advice is to open it at the bank that your loved one or whatever who's passed on was at. In my case, that was yet another state in the Midwest with another bank. That's not practical to do that. So open an estate account that's convenient for you, that you can access, that you can make deposits into and pay bills with and stuff like that, and taxes and all the stuff you have to do. So do that. And I wouldn't have known to do that. But, that's important. And just leave it open as long as you need it, and leave the minimum amount of money in there just so you can that's one less hassle, that you're not in a situation where okay, now I've done this, now I don't have any place to put this money. So that. And the other is if you're in situations where, you know, you're not sure if you need legal representation, Google, you know, go to the gods of Google and, you know, just Google that. Like, example, I just Googled opening an estate account in the state of Pennsylvania. My lawyer was just like, wow, they're going to let you do that without me representing you? I said, they called their legal department. They, you know, said they would take the paperwork that I have, and they took it. So, you know, it's not always, you'll save yourself. I mean, I just saved myself several $1,000s by handling those things on my own, those two things. And people will tell you if you can't do it, you know, obviously they're not going to just do it for you. If it's not on the up and up, they're not going to, you know, they're going to, in all these cases, they had their legal department check it out, make sure that it passed, and it did. So just know that you can kind of investigate things on your own. So there's that. So that's just, I mean, I'm sure I could have a whole list of things to do when you're in this type of situation, but those are two right off the bat, just to put in your thinking cap. And then I'm going to leave you with a recipe that I made this week that was so freaking delicious. That was like out of like stuff you probably have in your pantry. And it was because we're doing this massive spring cleaning at our house right now. And I was just like, oh, I didn't realize I had that. I didn't realize I had that. And I don't know, I saw something, Stanley Tucci or something, some pasta recipe. I'm like, I'm sick of just, we've been door dashing and stuff because we've been just so embroiled in like projects and stuff at this house that like we just, no time for cooking or even shopping. So, but I had all this stuff. So let me tell you what I made. And I would definitely make this again. I had this fettuccine. I cooked the fettuccine and then I reserved like a couple cups of the pasta water. That's key right there. Save the pasta water before you drain it. Then I found just like a little bit of grated Parmesan. So I had that. So I drained my fettuccine and then I had some fresh spinach. Drained the fettuccine. Before I put it back in the pan, put a couple tablespoons of butter and some olive oil in there and some garlic powder. I didn't have any fresh garlic, so like a ton of garlic powder in there, and kind of cooked that down a little bit. Fresh pepper. Threw my pasta back into the pot, stirred that all up, then started adding the pasta water a little bit. That starts turning that into like this creamy sauce. And then I added not that much Parmesan cheese into it. And then and I put the spinach in before. Actually, I put the spinach in like when the pasta was still hot, because the hot pasta cooks the spinach. I wish I'd put like 4 handfuls. I put like 2 handfuls and it just dissolves like just practically nothing. But this dog, he's laying on the warm pavement now. Anyway, so then put the pasta back in, stirred that back up. So now you're getting this creamy sauce, and I'm adding like little bits and little bits of the pasta water to keep cooking it all together. And there's something about this combination of the pasta water with the fat that's in there, the butter and the olive oil and the cheese, and how that all comes together. It was like a freaking fettuccine Alfredo, is my point. It was super garlicky. It was such an experiment, but I'm like, said to my husband, I think we're going to get a pizza or something like that. I said, he was out doing something. He came back. I said, I decided to cook something. I'm tired of, you know, ordering stuff. I decided to cook something with just what we had. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't know how good this is going to be, but it's a little bit healthier. It's got spinach in it and stuff. My husband ate almost the entire pot. He was so hungry. I think he came back from a bike ride and he was so hungry. He said today, he goes, I still feel bloated from that pasta 2 nights ago because he ate so much of it because it was so good. So that was like a chop challenge. So use your pasta water as a alternative for cream, really. And it was like the equivalent of really good fettuccine Alfredo. It tasted really good. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Thanks for indulging me with a little garden talk. I'm going to finish a little mulching here and be done with it. And tomorrow head out on a little fun field trip with my friend to Trader Joe's, in another town, and another little ride in the car and catch up and everything like that. So I'm excited for a little Trader Joe's run. And I get all my mulching done before I go. I like to do my work stuff and then I treat myself with a reward, and the reward is spending the day with my friend and going to Trader Joe's tomorrow. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging in there with me, you guys, and indulging me with your time and attention. I appreciate it. And hope you're doing well out there and enjoying life wherever you are and whatever you're doing. All right, take care. Bye for now.